all the lies they're telling young women how to live their life, and the things they do that they believe is going to make them happy and attract a good man, but in reality, it's unattractive, and that's not what men are looking for, especially when it comes to commitment. All right. One of the things I have noticed that, especially in today's modern day dating culture, is, you know, the sexual liberation of women, right? That you can go out there and have sex with multiple men and be like the men. If the men can do it, the women can do it. Like I proved to you guys already, you know, there's double standards because of the biological differences. We're different, and the reason why women can't do it like the men, because you guys have a higher investment, right? The risk is higher for you. You're going to get pregnant for 9 months, and you end up raising a child for 19 or 18 years. Or if you want to give up adoption or abort the child, then that's going to put a lot of emotional toll on your conscience. So there's a big investment for a lot of women out there. So that's why you can't just go out there and just have sex. It doesn't work for you. It doesn't benefit you at all. It's going to only make your life harder. But for men, that's like I said, it's different, right? So that's one of the things I highly encourage women out there. Like I told you guys before, is the body count, right? When it comes to the difference between men and women, but when it comes to men, we care about the body count. We care about how many your sexual activity of how many men you've been with. Because one of the things that we care about is paternity, making sure that the child that we raise is mine, right? Is their own biological child. Right? There was a study that was done, I think it was done in New Hampshire. I can't remember. I read it a long time ago, but it showed that they did a study. I was in New Hampshire, and they found out about 30% of the children born, 30% of kids being raised by the men, by the married couples, by the married. 30% of kids that was born, they found out that they found out that 30% of men found out that the child they were raising wasn't theirs. 30%. That's a big number. 30%. Right. So, like I told you guys before, for a lot of women out there, that body count does matter for men, especially if they're gonna commit to you and wife you up. So if you're gonna go out there and have sex and be sexually liberated and do your thing, hey, I'm not judging you, do your thing, but just understand that the higher your body count, the less likely for you to get married, and also the higher body count, you're more likely going to have a lot of trauma and issues because you're going to be in relationships with a lot of the wrong and toxic men who don't have the right intentions for you, right? So, actually, there was a study I was reading about. There's a study that was done, and I wanted to read it to you guys. There was a study I was reading, and it showed that it proved there was evidence. They showed scientific evidence to show that, you know, as a woman has a higher body count or has a higher sexual activity, that she actually decreases her probability of finding a healthy relationship and finding marriage. So, and on this study, I just put up the study right now. I'm gonna read it for you guys. Let me share on my screen so you guys can see. All right. So let me share it real quick. All right. Let me just exit through this. And let me pull up the study. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see it. So the study was done, it was like, it proved that the initiation of sexual activity and the number of sexual partners. So this is what they found, right? The earlier a woman begins sexual activity, the more sexual partners she is likely to have during her lifetime. Girls who have begin voluntary sexual activity at age of 13, 14 will average more than 13, will have on average more than 13 voluntary non-marital sex partners in their lives. By contrast, women who have sexual activity in their early 20s will have on average 2.7 sexual partners through their lives. Right? Women who have sexual activity at early ages also have far higher turnover rates among sexual partners. The sex partner turnover rate may be defined as a number of sexual partners per year of sexual activity. Women who become sexually active at the age of 13, 14 have a sex partner turnover rate that is 4 times higher, 4 times higher than the rate found among those who initiate sex activity in their early 20s, right? All right. And this also shows negative consequences of early sexual activity, not only the physical with the catching STDs, also the emotional trauma that the women go through from being in failed relationships, It's just a whole list, and also negative consequences of having increased numbers of non-sexual partners. So ultimately, what this study showed that the more sexual partners a woman had, the more likelihood she was going to go through some kind of trauma, mental health problems, issues, struggles, hardships, and more than likely, she is not going to go. She is not going to have attract commitment and marriage from men. All right. So, you guys should definitely check out the study. Like I told you guys before, these are things that I see and I read about all the time. So you guys got to, like I told you guys before, that's something I always have to break it down on my podcast because women are more, you guys are not like men. The men, when it comes to the sex, it's just physical. We don't have to invest any kind of emotions into when we have sex. But when it comes to women, you guys have to be emotionally invested into a man. For most women, right? And what happens is if you keep bouncing around from relationship to relationship from all these types of men, you're gonna have a lot of failed relationships that takes a toll on you psychologically, emotionally, physically, mentally. And that's why a lot of these women, by the time like they get to the end of their life, they're very broken, right? And of course, like I said, not only you're broken, but also you have a high body count, which is unattractive to men. Right. So that's something I want to bring up because that's something that I've noticed today in today's sexual marketplace, that a lot of women out here are getting encouraged by women out there, but the very women in their family who have multiple kids, baby daddies, and are single and can't attract a man and can't keep a man, they're being encouraged by their women to go out there and be sexually liberated and have sex and have a high body count. That's okay. All right. And you see on social media today, you see women out here today sexualizing themselves, from men at a very young age. Even you see kids now in even high school or even elementary school, they're on TikTok, they're on social media, they're posting their body, sexualizing themselves at a very young age, even before the age of 18, and attracting all this unnecessary attention, right? And that's what happens when you don't have a father in the house, all right? All right, second thing I'm going to talk about is going to college and getting an education, all right? That is something that I see all the time. That's something I see all the time for a lot of women out there. Like they're getting told by the women in their life to go and seek a college education in order to be happy, in order to find a man. And this is one of the things I always have to break down on my podcast is, and like I told you guys before I before I give you guys my take, I also want to put out there, number one, look, ladies, if you guys want to go to college, if you guys want to, pursue higher education, by all means, go ahead, that's your choice. That's what you want to do. But I do realize for a lot of women, they go to college or they seek an education because that's what they've been told, right? You know what? Go get yourself an education, be ambitious, go to college. So that way you don't never have to depend on a man. And that's the narrative a lot of these young women are hearing from the radical feminists and from the women in their life, especially the very intelligent women. But the one thing they don't realize is there's actually a study out there, ladies, to show that the more intelligent the woman or higher the IQ, the more likely for you to be single and unmarried, because I always have to break down women are hypergamous, right? Hypergamy is women only want to date up. They only want to date men in a similar social economic status or higher. So even when it comes to intelligence, when women become very intelligent, they only want to date men who have the similar, has the similar IQ or has the same similar IQ or education as her. And doesn't want to date any guy that's outside of her, I guess, IQ cohort, right? So that is one of the things I've noticed between a lot of women who are very educated, who have a higher education, that I know personally, is they struggle to find a guy that they're attracted to and they want to commit to, because the men who are very intelligent, have a high IQ, that's a small percentage of men. But the problem is between men and women is when it comes to men, we date down. We're not looking for our equal, especially when it comes to IQ, because I told you guys before, men are always looking for youth, beauty, femininity, fertility, and femininity. That's what we're attracted to. So that's why we don't care about IQ. We just, as long as that we're attracted to you, you're beautiful to us, you're feminine, and you're fertile to start a family with. That's what men look for. But for women, like I told you before, you're always looking for a superior man because you want to be comfortable with a man that can take care of you. And for a lot of women who are very intelligent, they have a higher education. That's the type of men they seek But the problem is those men are, it's a small percentage of men in the world. And also those men are attracted by all women. So all these women want that same type of man. Every woman wants a very ambitious, intelligent man. So you're competing with all these types of women. But like I told you before, if that man has many options, he's going to go with the most beautiful, more attractive option to him, right? So like I told you guys before, that's one of the things I have noticed when it comes to today. There's a lot of women out there in radical feminism. They're telling these women, if you want to attract a man, go to education. That's fine, right? But what we should be telling these women is, no, go get your if you want to go to college, great, but you should go get an education so you can meet those men and have opportunity to pursue those men and attract those men, right? You don't get an education to be independent of men. You get an education so you can meet the right men, right? And a lot of women out there are just going to college because that's what everybody's telling them to do, and they don't really want to go to college, but they're just doing it because that's what modern women are supposed to do. But what they finally realize is, especially the women who are very intelligent and have a high IQ, they realize that the more intelligent a woman becomes, the higher the IQ, the more likely for them to be single and can't attract marriage into their life. All right, so like I told you before, these are the type of things that they won't tell you, ladies. So like I said, be intelligent, have a high IQ, and pursue education, but just understand there's consequences. And these are the type of information that women are not telling these women out there. So like I said, ladies, if you don't want to get your education, you just want to rely on a man and attract a good man and rely on his IQ, rely on him to make decisions and on his and you're willing to support him, there's nothing wrong with that. But we have evolved to a society that we're telling women that you should be the leader, you should be the main provider, you should be the one that's willing to lead the relationship. A lot of times, like I told you before, women, for a lot of times, you always want the more ambitious man. So even if you're a woman, if you're comfortable in leading, but it's going to be very hard for you to be with a guy and let him follow you, because even as masculine as you are, you still want a guy that can dominate you with his masculinity. Okay, so I'm gonna read the study that I saw with the IQ that showed that high IQ cuts women's probabilities. I'm gonna share my screen for you guys so you guys can check it out for yourself so you guys can see. A high IQ is a hindrance for women who wants to get married, while it is an asset for men, according to a study by 4 British universities. The study found the likelihood of marriage increased 35% for boys for each 16-point increase in IQ, but for girls, there's 40% drop for each 16-point rise, according to the survey by the universities of Aberdeen, Bristol, Edinburgh, and Glasgow. The study is based on the IQ of 900 men and women between their 10th and 40th birthdays. The women in their late 30s who have gone for careers after the first of Flushing University and who are among the brightest of their generation are finding that men are just not interested enough, right? And then Claire Ryder and broadcaster says that intelligent men are often preferred a less brainy partner. A chap with a high IQ is going to get a demanding job that's going to take up a lot of energy and time. She said, in many ways, he wants a woman who's old-fashioned, wife, and looks after home, a copy of his mom in a way. Exactly. That's why I told you guys before, men and women, we don't look for the same things. For men who are very ambitious, very high IQ, who wants to focus on his purpose, he just wants a very feminine woman so he can take care of his home. Because like I said, that type of lifestyle, to be very intelligent, to be very ambitious, it's really demanding in life. So you just want, when you go home, you just want peace. You don't want to go back home and, debate your high IQ woman and you guys going back and forth on a lot of things because you guys are both smart. That's why for men, we date down. For women, you guys date up. So that was a study I told you guys before, like women, all ladies out there. Hey, I mean, you guys can be smart. You guys can go out there and pursue an education, but just understand, ladies, that the smarter you become, the more educated you become, because women date up and only want to date men in the same level as them, not only financially, socially, but also intellectually. It's gonna be really, really hard for you guys to find a man in your level because there's a small percentage of men, and all women want that same man. You're gonna be competing with all women. The thing is, there's always a woman out there that's younger than you, more pretty than you, more attractive than you. And when it comes to those things that men are looking for, based on balance of probability, you're gonna get beat, and he's gonna go with that woman. All right. So just, that's something that I really believe that needs to tell a lot of young women out there. So ladies, if you don't, if you just want to be with a man of a high IQ, like I said, just that's fine. You don't have to go out there and pursue education because that's what these women in your life are telling you. That's what you have to do. Like getting an education is not gonna get you a man. Working on the things that men look for: youth, beauty, femininity, fertility. Those are things that men are attracted to. So if you want to get that for your own self, great. Go get out there, get an education, and get that college degree. But don't think that those are the very thing. That college degree or the education is going to be the reason why these guys are going to come to you. That's not going to be the reason, right? So a lot of times these women pursue their education and get their college degree, but they totally they totally they don't give attention to their beauty. They don't give attention to their femininity. They don't give attention to their fertility, and they don't give attention to their youth, beauty, fertility, femininity. Yeah, and they don't give it attention. They don't take advantage of the time of their youth, take advantage of it, and meet men in that time. So they want to, they sacrifice their youth, and later on when they're 30, 40, they realize that they can't find a man. So take advantage of your youth, your beauty, your femininity, fertility, and work on those things as much as you work on your education and also on your pursuing a high college career, which is all fine. But just understand, like I told you before, based on the studies, the more smarter and more intelligent you become, ladies, the harder for you to attract the man that you want. Right? You can still attract men, but like I told you guys before, there's a difference between attracting any man or attracting the man that you want. Right? You don't have to feel like you're settled. A lot of times with women, when they can't attract the man they want, they end up settling. The third thing that I noticed a lot of young ladies out here are being lied to by a lot of the women out there is their health. A lot of women out here are not taking advantage of their health and taking care of their bodies because in America, 40% of women are overweight or obese. And we have this new movement called body positivity, where it's evolved to a point where women are using that as an excuse to avoid any accountability to be healthy and to work out and to take care of their bodies. So one thing I've noticed today, a lot of women out here are not working on their bodies and not being healthy enough. And not, like I said, don't do it for the men. Don't do it for the relationship. Do it for yourself, for your own longevity, but also for your own personal and mental and physical health to feel better, to feel more, to build self-esteem, and to build yourself up and be the most best version of yourself. Because everything starts with your body, right? It's hard to feel good about yourself if you're overweight, obese, and of course, not only don't even and I'm not even and don't forget all the health risks that involve being overweight and obese, right? So, yeah, one of the things I've just seen is a lot of these women out here are not taking care of their bodies because they've been told by all these women out here because of body positivity. And of course, in the ladies, you guys lie to each other. You guys don't tell the truth. A lot of women out here are reinforcing negative behaviors for women. You know what? You're not fat. You're not overweight. You're not obese. You're just big bone. You're thick. No, there's a difference between thick and overweight and obese and being fat, right? So a lot of and of course a lot of people using the plus size. I'm not overweight. I'm not obese. I'm just plus size. No, you're fat. There's a difference between plus size and fat and overweight, obese, right? Like I told you before, when you're overweight, obese, there's a lot of health hazards and health risks involved. So women, and also like I told you before, if the men that you want who have options, they're gonna always go with a woman that's more attractive and more physically attractive if he has options, right? Are there men out there that will, like I told you before, when it comes to sex, men will still have sex with you, ladies. Men will still have sex with women who are overweight, right? But a lot of times, these women who are overweight, who are fat and obese, they don't understand the difference between sexual attention and commitment attention. Sexual commitment and sexual attention and commitment attention. They don't know the difference. So a lot of these women who are overweight, because men are showing them attention and still having sex with them, in their mind, they think, oh, I don't need to change. I don't need to improve because I'm still attracting men. I'm still getting dick, right? But a lot of these women don't understand. Yeah, these men just want to smash you, but they don't want to wife you. They don't want to be. They don't want to be known to. They don't want you to be their public boy or girlfriend, right? Because like I told you before, and of course the men who have options, they're always going to go with the most attractive, most beautiful woman out there. That's just how it is. So yeah, that's one of the things I've just noticed for a lot of women out here. Not only to have high body counts, not only to pursuing education to be independent of men instead of just relying on the men. But also like a lot of these women don't take care of their bodies and just let themselves go, become fat, especially the single older women, and they wonder why, and they want to blame the younger girls. Why are they always pursuing the younger girls? Hey, don't forget, you were at one point you were young too, and you attracted all these men when you were younger. You had that better body, but now you let yourself go, and now you want to throw shade and hate on the younger girls because because like I told you before, the men are not giving you the attention no more. Hey, that's what happens, right? That's why you have to work on yourself, right? And like I said, when it comes to weight, that's something you can control. It's all on you. You have 100% responsibility to fix that, to change that. So if you want to attract a suitable mate, like I told you before, it's going to be hard if you're fat, overweight, or obese, because for men, they look like, number one, you're fat, overweight, obese. It's going to be hard to be sexually attracted to you. And number two, you're a health hazard, right? Is that the type of, that shows for the men out there, especially uh, good quality men, like he wants to, like, if you're overweight, obese, that shows your lack of discipline, the lack of self-control, right? Is that the type of mother that he wants to raise his kids, right? You're going to show them the same habits that you have, and my kids might end up being overweight, obese, and my kids might end up having health hazards and health risks. So I'd rather be with a woman that takes her health seriously, that has self-discipline and self-control, right? And of course, if you're overweight, obese, you're going to come with a lot of mental health issues because you're unhappy, you're sad, you're not low self-esteem. So like all these insecurities you're going to have about your body and have to deal with, have to constantly work with. When I can just be with a nice, healthy woman who has high self-esteem and is very confident in herself and doesn't have any insecurities, and she feels beautiful, not only mentally but also physically, right? Like I told you before, ladies, it's a competition. You're competing every single day. Every single day, there's women out there to compete with, and if you don't take care of your health, which is one of your physical health, that's one of the primary things men are looking for. Then you're gonna lose out, right? So, like I told you before, I'm not an advocate for body positivity because I think it's bullshit. Because you know, it's like I told you before, there's body positivity for women, but there's no body positivity for men. When it comes to men, like there is no body positivity. If you're fat, you're fat. There is no like plus size or thick for men. No, men know if you're fat, you're fat. If you work out, get in shape, and get the muscle, right? But for women, like I told you before, uh, that's one of the things I had noticed before, that it's okay. You can be fat, you can be overweight, obese. Men who still have sex, you still get guys. Yeah, like I told you before, men who still smash. They still smash. Yeah, but they don't want to. But they don't, like I told you before, they don't want to wife you up because there's better, more healthy women out there. All right, the last thing, two more things is the independent and masculine. We talked about that before already at the beginning. Like I told you guys before, a lot of times people see a lot of women who are very independent, masculine, they want to be like men. And that's one of the narratives I always hear from a lot of women out there. They're always teaching young women to be independent and be masculine. Like I told you before, men are not attracted to masculinity. They want a feminine woman. And men who are very confident, the type of men that you guys look for, they want to be the provider and protector because that's our role. That's our natural biological role, to be the provider and protector. We're not seeking a woman that's independent. Right? We want a woman we're more comfortable with our woman to depend on us. So if you're very independent and you're very masculine, like a man, we don't want to date a man. We want to date a woman. We're feminine. We want to feel your feminine energy, your vulnerability, your caring, your nurture, your love. But if you're very independent, you're very masculine, and I feel like you're more like a man, that is something that men don't want to commit to and don't want to attract. Right. So that is something I always hear from a lot of women out there: be independent, be very masculine. And of course, women out here going out there in college and pursue higher degrees. Of course, as women become very successful, move up in society, they have to take in masculine traits and become very masculine. But then later on, like I told you before, they find out once they become successful, it's hard for them to attract a very masculine alpha man. You may attract a very beta feminine man, but like I told you before, that's not the type of men that most women are looking for. Women that always date up, they always want the superior man, the tall, masculine, confident, ambitious alpha man, right? But the thing is, the more alpha, the more masculine man is, the more he's looking for a feminine woman. So it's gonna be, so the more alpha, the more masculine, the more feminine he is. The more he's looking for femininity, and they'll still smash the same thing with the fat women. Like the alpha and masculine men, they'll still smash you independent ladies, and they'll still smash the masculine women, but they won't wife you up, right? Because we're always looking for femininity, right? So that's one of the biggest things I've seen. A lot of young women today, they're not taught this information, right? And then of course, their moms, they're single moms, they're in their life, they're very masculine, they're very independent themselves. So they emulate that behavior from their moms, and that's why a lot of these women here end up repeating and emulating that same behavior, and then they can't figure out why these men are not wifing them up when they learn from the very woman that had an unsuccessful relationship with a man. You cannot make this up. All right, of course, the demographic that represents, I always want to use stats, the demographic that represents the highest for the women who are single and married are upper middle class, career-oriented women, right? So the study of women, like, I always read a lot of studies. So if you go look at the demographic of women, the more career-oriented the woman is, the more money she makes, the more less than likely she is going to get married. There was one study I was reading up on. It showed that women who work in very competitive corporate jobs and they get promoted to an executive level type position, those women are 3 times more likely to divorce their partner. Because like I told you guys before, women date up. So if the woman is the more ambitious one in the relationship, and she ends up being excelling, elevated into a very higher socioeconomic status than a man, that studies show that women who were in those corporate jobs and they became CEOs, or they were promoted to executive level type position, the women were 3 times more likely to divorce their partner than the men who got promoted in the same positions. Because like I told you guys before, women, they always want to seek their superiors. So that's why it's not a good idea for a lot of men out there. If the woman's making more money, the woman's more educated than you, I wouldn't suggest for you to go into that relationship, not because you're insecure. It's just because if you understand the human nature, female nature, and the intersexual dynamics between men and women, you understand that it's not going to work out. All right. And then the last thing I'm going to cover real quick is the prime years. One of the things I noticed is a lot of women out there, they're being taught from all these women out here, they're being taught that there's no such thing as a prime year. You can always find a man at, but if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And one of the things I have noticed always all the time is these women out here think that, they have their whole life to find a man. And one thing I do have to break it down to you guys know, a woman's sexual value in the marketplace is her youth, beauty, fertility, and femininity, which 3 of them relies on your physical attributes from your age. So the woman, you're more attractive, more beautiful when you're younger as you get older. So your prime years is from your 20s, 20 to 29, 18 to 29. That's the prime years of a woman, right? Like I told you guys before, as you get older, you lose your ability, you're not as attractive, you're not as beautiful, and you lose your ability to have kids, so you lose your fertility as soon as you become 30. And for a lot of men, those are things that men primarily look for. So that's why women, you have a prime years. That's why I always say on my podcast, women, to be sexually attractive to the opposite sex, women have to preserve their value, preserve their youth, preserve their beauty, preserve their fertility, preserve their the femininity you can always have, doesn't matter how old you are. But for men, we have to build our value. We have to work on our success, improve ourselves, become bigger, faster, stronger, and be a great leader for the women, right? So like I told you guys before, I'm gonna read some stats with you guys. Women, by contrast, are far more likely to be single later in life. Roughly half of women ages 65 years old and older are unpartnered. 49% about those ages from. So women, by contrast, read that one more time. Women, by contrast, are by far most likely to be single later in life. Roughly half of women ages 65 and older are partnered. 49%, which those ages 30 to 49 are the least likely to be single, 19%, and roughly 3 in 10 women ages 18 to 29, 32%, and 50 to 64, 29% are single. All right, like I told you before, if you look at it, women by number statistically, the older you get, the more likely for you to be single later on in life. But for the men, it's opposite. The older we get, because we have to build our value to be sexually attracted. And for most men, they don't hit their prime, especially the time when they're most financially stable until they hit 30, 35. That's why as men grow older and build their empire, become more ambitious and become more financially stable, they become more attractive to women. And of course, like I told you guys before, women are always dating up. And there was a study that was done that showed that women tend to like to date guys between the ages older than them. And women tend to like to date men who are older than them because the older men show the ability to provide and protect and be able to provide resources than the younger men, because the men who are very young, they are not that level to have resources.